guys, my name is Tessa, and I'm excited to be hosting a yoga class for y'all here on Psychetruth. I wanted to do a class today that's more relaxing and generally can give y'all some stress relief. So let's go ahead and get started with some simple neck rolls and just kind of settling into the body. So go ahead and root down through your sit bones and feel your spine lengthen, rolling your shoulders back. And as your chest lifts, go ahead and bring your chin down, keeping that spine nice and long. And notice if your hips kind of catch and just soften around your hip area. If you're feeling a lot of tightness in your hips, go ahead and grab a towel or a blanket to sit on. And keeping your chest lifted, go ahead and just begin some nice simple neck rolls, bringing your head to one side nice and slow. And just starting to feel that soft stretch in the side neck area and keeping your chest nice and lifted, keeping a softness in your hips. And just begin to check in with your breath. Notice your breath as you kind of do this simple movement. And just letting the breath deepen as you deepen in the stretch. And just bringing your attention back to your breath if you get distracted. And just know that for the next 20 minutes, you get to focus on yourself and you can just let go of distractions. And go ahead and keeping your spine nice and long, go ahead and just begin to move forward. You can bring your hands forward and feeling that stretch more in your hips. And you can let your shoulders round slightly, just feeling a nice gentle stretch in your hips and your glutes, especially that leg that's in front if your legs are crossed, which they should be. So just feeling that nice stretch, and always in these forward bends, it's a great place to breathe deeply. So just breathing into your abdomen, nice deep breaths as you just continue to walk your hands forward. And coming back up, and go ahead and put the opposite leg forward and getting into the stretch on the opposite hip. And again, feel rooted through your sit bones as you begin to walk your hands forward and feeling those hips respond. You never want to force your hips to open, really got to allow those hips to open. And just checking in with your breath, really breathing into that abdomen and letting go of any tension that you're holding in your stomach or your face. And keeping the spine long. You can come on up. And we're gonna head into child's pose. So go ahead and bring your big toes together and your knees a little wider than hip width apart. And you can just rest your head on the mat. If you're feeling a lot of tightness in your hips might be up a little further, don't worry about it. Just relax your head. And this is a great position to, if you're feeling scattered, to just kind of bring yourself in and just notice your breath. And allow your abdomen to soften and just allow your hips to settle towards your heels or on your heels. A few breaths here. Just letting the breath deepen as you move through your practice. And notice any tension you're holding in your neck and your head, and just really let yourself be supported by the floor, by your mat. And begin to walk your hands forward, really pressing throughout your entire palm, especially your inner palm, rolling your shoulders out. And just feeling a nice length and stretch across your back. And really press throughout that inner palm, Feeling a nice lengthening of the spine here, and continue to soften your abdomen. And go ahead and come up onto all fours, doing a few cat-cows. So you want your shoulders over your wrists and your hips over your knees. And on an inhale, go ahead and round your spine, really pressing through your palms. And on an exhale, go ahead and arch that back. Bringing your gaze towards the ceiling, and do a few more at your own pace, moving with your breath. Really allowing that spine to warm up and stretch. And really rolling those shoulders back as you gaze up towards the ceiling. Stretching across your upper back, across your shoulders. And this time, go ahead and bring your big toes about an inch apart, and you're gonna just sit your butt in between your heels, allowing your butt to be supported by your feet. And this is a great stretch for the low back. If you're someone that has low back pain, go ahead and just stack your forearms, and you can rest your head on your forearms. And in this position, just feeling your lower back soften and feeling that stretch vertically and horizontally. And just checking in with your breath and bringing your attention into your body, deeper and deeper into your body. And allowing that stretch to deepen, go ahead and lift your head. And you're just gonna walk your hands forward, deepening that stretch in your low spine. And really allow your hips to settle and your butt to rest in between your feet. And if you're a little tighter in the hips and your butt is not quite touching your heels, don't worry about it. Just feeling that stretch in the low spine as much as you can. And let's go ahead and move right into downward facing dog. So you can tuck your toes under, press your palms, especially that inner palm, and head right into downward facing dog. Pressing through your palms, pressing those thighs back. And rolling your shoulders out, feeling space in your neck. And just enjoying the length in your spine. And make sure that your spine's supported, nice strong thighs, bringing those thighs back and the heels down towards the floor. And moving with your breath. Go ahead and just gently walk your feet forward, coming into a forward bend. Feet are hip distance apart. And go ahead and half forward bend, just look up briefly, rolling those shoulders back, and full forward bend. Allowing the hands to rest on the floor, or if you're feeling a little tighter, you can hold your elbows with your hands and just hang. Wherever you're at, really breathing into those hamstrings, those calves, and bringing the hips more in line with the ankles. So if you're feeling really tight, you can bend your knees just softly. And if you want a deeper stretch, you can lengthen that spine and bring your chest in towards your legs. To come up, go ahead and press through your feet. Bring your arms overhead, nice lengthen that spine. Go ahead and bring your arms up. Really reach towards the sky. Just very soft bend in your knees. Just a simple back bend, reaching your hands back. And bring your palms back to center. Rooting down through your feet, really enjoy that connectedness to the earth, to the ground as you lengthen through your legs. Really lengthen that spine, roll your shoulders back, and go ahead and bring the arms back overhead. And a little bit deeper this time, go ahead and tuck your tailbone forward and just reach those hands through those fingertips a little further back than last time. And forward fold. Go ahead and bring your hands forward briefly, and half forward bend. Go ahead and look up. Rolling those shoulders back, pausing here, bringing the stretch more into your hamstrings. And back down. And just pausing here, noticing that we're starting to move a little bit deeper into these poses as we revisit. And just rolling the shoulders back. Notice your breath. And really spread your fingers apart, pressing throughout the entire palm. Go ahead and walk your feet back into plank pose. So go ahead and bring those thighs down, forming a straight line through your heels all the way to the shoulders. If this is too intense, you can drop those knees down. Really press through those palms, roll the shoulders back, and feeling strong core as you bring the tailbone down and the thighs back. And same thing if your knees are on the floor. Go ahead and press back into downward facing dog, pressing the palms. And this time, just deepening in the stretch. Really see if you can bring the heels a little closer to the ground this time. Press through your palms and bring those heels as close to the ground as you can. Really pressing the thighs back. And just begin to walk it out, getting more into the Achilles heel and the calf. This is great if you're a runner. Just walking it out. And go ahead and bring your knees down back into child's pose. Bring your big toes together, your knees a little further than hip width apart. And go ahead and rest your head. And just let your elbows bend and let your hands rest on the floor. Feeling your hips start to open a little bit more with the weight of your tailbone towards your heels. And again, if your hips are up and not quite resting on your heels, don't worry about it. Just enjoy the stretch. And go ahead and bring your hands forward, press your palms, and we're going to move into downward facing dog one more time. Go ahead and press your thighs back. And we're going to start to move into the hips a little bit more. So one-legged downward facing dog, feeling strong through that right thigh. Go ahead and lift your left leg. And begin to just open up that left hip and that left knee, and really allowing that right heel to sink down. Enjoying that nice stretch in that right leg and letting the hips begin to open. And opposite side, go ahead and bring that right leg up. Bend that right knee. And allow that left heel to just sink. Nice deep stretch in that left calf and allowing the hips to open. And you can bring that right leg down and back into child's pose, but in a way that's going to open up our hips a little bit more. Go ahead and bring your big toes together, and you're going to bring your knees just wider than your mat. If you're not using a mat, just bring them a good bit farther than your hips, and you can just rest your head. And if your hips are feeling really tight and your hips are kind of hovering a little bit more, you can just create a pillow with your forearms. Otherwise, you can just rest your head. And really allowing the weight of your lower body to help your hips open. This is a great position to open up the hips if they're really tight, just because of gravity really helps. And just take a few breaths here, breathing into those hips. And deep, full breaths into the abdomen. You can come on up, and we're going to continue to move deeper into the hips. So what I'd like you to do is go ahead and tuck your toes under, and your feet are going to be about a foot apart, and you're just going to come into a squat position. So your feet are angled out, and you're gonna just let your spine round. You can rest your hands in front of you and just start to feel the stretch in your hips a little bit more, letting the heels sink towards the floor. And lengthen your spine a little bit as your tailbone moves towards your heels. And this is also great if you are a runner, for your Achilles heels and your hips. And from here, go ahead and sit back. And you're gonna come into our first deeper hip opener. And you can just bring the soles of your feet together. And if you have a blanket handy and you want this to feel a little less intense for your hips, go ahead and sit on something. Wherever you're at, I'd like you to grab on to just below your knee. Go ahead and pull with your hands and lengthen that spine just like when we were beginning our session. Nice long spine and rooting through your sit bones. And continue to root down through your sit bones as you come forward with your hands. Go ahead and walk your hands forward and just allow those groins, those hips to begin to soften and open a little bit more. And the hips can definitely be pretty stubborn. If your knees are up higher, really don't worry about it. Just let your focus be on allowing the hips to soften, lengthening your spine as you move deeper. And to move deeper, just coming forward. If you're super flexible, you can even bring your head onto the floor, just feeling rooted through your sit bones as you allow your hips to open. And you can come on up and just lengthen through your legs, moving into the glutes a little bit more. This is half pigeon. This is one of my favorite positions for really stretching out the glutes. So you can bring your left leg on top of the right, and you're just gonna stack your legs. And this is another position. If you have really tight hips and your knee is up like this, really, that's just fine. Just feeling rooted through your sit bones, and go ahead and come forward. Letting the shoulders round just slightly, but you definitely don't want to collapse forward. You want to feel some length through your spine. And this is great for the glutes, that side glute. If you're feeling like this is too easy, you can stack your forearms and you can rest your head, but just be careful of not collapsing your spine. It's just a really soft rounding of the spine. And opposite side, go ahead and bring that right leg on top of the left. And staying rooted through the sit bones, begin to just walk your hands forward. And breathing into those hips, into that glute. And really just embracing wherever you're at in the pose. Be aware if you're telling yourself, man, I should just be like not this tight, or whatever judgments you might have, and just breathe through it and get back into feeling what's going on in that hip, that glute. Come on out of that pose, and we are going to lay down and finish this session on our backs. And starting our work on the floor, go ahead and bring your right ankle on top of your left knee, and you're just going to bring that left knee up. So it's the same kind of stretch, only with your back supported. And you can grab hold of, you can clasp your fingers and grab hold of the back of your leg or on top of your knee, whatever feels the best. Or you can just keep your hands free and bring that knee in towards your chest. And again, you can't really force the hips to open. You can just let them. Just letting that hip soften. And taking a few more breaths here. And relax your face, your neck. And opposite side, bringing that left ankle on top of the right knee. Go ahead and find your preferred hand position. And notice if your neck is tensing, and just soften around your neck and your face as you let that hip begin to open a little more. And relax your abdomen. Notice if your thoughts are drifting. Just bringing your attention back to breath. And one side might feel a little bit tighter than the other. And you can release. And we're going to finish our hip work with happy baby pose. Go ahead and just bring your legs up, and you're going to bend your knees. The soles of your feet are going to be facing towards the ceiling, and you want to grab hold of the outsides of your feet if possible. If your hips are feeling really tight, don't worry about it. You can just grab hold of your ankles or your legs and kind of pull down. Otherwise, go ahead and grab hold of the outsides of your feet and just some gentle rocking. Opening up the hips a little bit more. And finally, just holding the position, really allowing those knees to move towards the floor. Bring your chin in towards your chest and relax your face. And just breathing into those hips. And allow the abdomen to soften. And you can release and go ahead and roll to your side, and you can sit up nice and slow. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed today's session, and I hope that you have a great rest of your day. Namaste.
Many of our subscribers don't see our videos. Make sure that you click the notification bell. And if you haven't already, follow us on social media for tips, tutorials, giveaways, and daily inspiration. Join us for 14 and 30-day programs, hour-long classes, and much more on our yoga app, Yoga Plus by Psychetruth. It's free to download and features a variety of wellness content, including yoga, fitness, Pilates, guided meditations, and interviews with dozens of wellness experts. Start your 14-day free trial today by clicking the link below.